Dark Souls 3. But let's talk about Greathammers. And Greathammers are my favorite weapon class here in this game. And many people don't like them. One, because they are extremely slow. Seriously, if a guy just outspaces you, you're gonna die. Because your recovery frames are very long, and your hyper armor startup frames are very long too, to the point they can either attack you in your recovery frames, or they will attack you before your hyper armor frames. So really, it's kind of hard to deal with meta weapons using great hammers in the PvP aspect. But let's talk about the good things about great hammers. One, they are very strong. Number two, they can poise to everything. And number three, they have very special, some of them have very special movesets or weapon arts that are way better than ultra great swords. For example, the spike mace, or Ledo's great hammer. So yeah, with those following things about great hammers, I will give you guys my top 5 uh, personal opinion, by the way, my top 5 favorite great hammers in the game, and I will also give some tips on how to use them PvP wise. So let's go. Now, first of all, in our honorable mentions list will be the Quakestone Hammer. Now, why is this in the honorable mentions? I know some people loves this thing, but I find it too basic, like any other great hammer. And the only thing special about it is the weapon art of this thing. Now, don't get me wrong, the weapon art of this thing is very strong, like what I did to that guy. But fighting a good player against this, you'll never use the weapon art. It's too telegraphed. They'll just walk away, they'll space you out, you're gonna die, you see. But if you're gonna fight a really bad person, this can work. In invasions, I guess it would be pretty good too, since it can poise through instant perseverance with the weapon art. So yeah, it's also pure physical. You can't infuse it. It only has basic movesets, and it deals around 610 damage when two-handed, which isn't that much, honestly. Ford's Great Hammer does 590, but that's understandable since it deals frostbite damage. So yeah, I place it here in my honorables mentions. I hope you guys like it and enjoy the rest of this duel with the Quickstone Hammer. At number 5 will be Wart's Great Hammer. Now this may be a surprise, but this hammer has been a beast for me in PvP, in either dueling or invading. Wart's Great Hammer is on this list because of the frostbite damage. It really only needs 2 to 3 hits to the enemy. Seriously, 2 to 3 hits, and they will get the frostbite effect already. Now if you don't know, a frostbite effect is an effect where your stamina regen is hindered, which is very helpful in duels. think of it as poison, but instead of your life draining, it's actually your stamina regen. Now, if you want to use the most of the frostbite damage, I advise having some fire bombs, because throwing it to your opponent can reset the frostbite buildup. Now, my tactic to trade with enemies is to pressure them to hit you. Like, go as close as you can, go to their face, and be ready to either roll or press R1. It is a guessing game. Now, especially for fast weapons like that, you need to know when to press R1. You have to read your opponent, and sooner or later, if you are careful enough, they will commit a mistake and you will win your duel. Now, this weapon is bad in terms of its movesets. It has the generic movesets of all the other Greathammers. So I advise carrying a finishing weapon like a spear, katana, or a straight sword. The other bad thing about this weapon is the damage output. At 60 strength, it only deals 590 AR, two-handed. And compared to other Greathammers, that's really bad. The Great Mace deals way more damage, I believe. But the Great Mace is really bad too, so it's not on this list, don't worry. So yeah, that would wrap things up for Wart's Greathammer. Now for number 4 is one of my favorite weapons. It is the Pickaxe. The Pickaxe has faster hyper armor startup frames and has a lot of damage potential because of its thrust damage type. A thrust damage type is the most damaging counterattack in the game. A well-placed trade can win you the fight because you will easily deal 500 plus damage in a single hit. Now, this weapon can be infused and buffed, making it viable in all builds. Put a Leo ring in the bundle and you can easily put out 600 counter damage attack. It also has the galvanized weapon art, which can reset bois health, so be sure to utilize it as much as you can. The bad thing going for this weapon is the fact that it has the shortest range in the Greathammer class, and it can be outspaced easily with longer weapons like a spear or a crazy long great sword or an ultra great sword. But don't be afraid. Just go as close to them, wear a Havel's armor, and don't be afraid to trade, because 9 times out of 10 you'll outdamage them. And that would wrap things up for the Pickaxe. Okay, now for number 3, it is the Spike Mace. Now, this weapon's only here in number 3 because of its crazy wombo combo. The R1 to weapon art R1 can well put out a whopping 800 to 1000 damage depending on your enemy's damage absorption. It can be infused with heavy, or if you want, dark for chip damage, and it can also be buffed. The best buff I use, the human pine resin, because it deals the best elemental damage in PvP. So yeah. Now the bad thing going for this weapon is that the wombo combo will not save its ass. Seriously. It only has the usual R1 and the usual R2, so just stick with the wombo combo and you'll be having good time. Okay, now time for number 2 in this list. It is the Great Club. Now, one of the things going for this weapon is its low stat requirement. It only needs 21 strength and 0 dex, which is great. I don't like decks. No, I'm kidding. And also, its R2 can really ruin someone's day. This thing can roll catch and true combo to its R1 and it will catch people off guard. It can also, its range is actually ridiculous and it's also very light. This Greathammer is unusually light compared to other Greathammers. I'm actually carrying a long sword on my second weapon slot. And I guess the only weakness I can say about this Greathammer is the fact that it's hard to play aggressive. And that's why in number 1 I placed Ledo's Greathammer. Yes, that's right. Now, this is very heavy and it requires a lot of stamina management because it takes a lot of stamina just to swing once or even twice. But the reason why I place this in number 1 is because it has various move sets, various mix-ups you can do. Those, the weapon buff, when you charge R2, those will fly into shrapnels, and those shrapnels can deal an amazing amount of damage, 200 usually, or 150 depending on the enemy's damage absorption. And it also has crazy physical damage. With 66 strength, you can have 732 damage output with this weapon. And it also has one of the best weapon arts in my opinion, where those it can roll catch people. Many people, they won't expect the second one to hit, and if the second one hits, you can actually um, true combo that with its R2, which is a slam, and that slam will easily dish out around 800 damage, or sometimes even 1000 if your enemy is really stupid with low damage absorption and types. Now, one of the bad things going for this weapon, it is very big. I cannot see a thing, so the way I deal with that is you have to move side to side, and if you do that, moving side to side can actually help improve. But in invasions, you might have a harder time. It takes a lot of practice to get used to it. But yeah, this is actually a really solid weapon, and I suggest you guys to try it out if you want to try a strength build or yeah, a strength build. So I guess that would wrap it up for my top 5. So yeah, I guess that's it. If you guys enjoy, I would appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and if you guys have any more ideas, feel free to comment down below. This is the Depressed Hollow, signing out. Subscribe or I'll invade your house.